For my second sky, I'm going to paint it with sunset colors. I also got out a piece of a cereal box to use for my palette this time, just so you can see what it's like when you use that for your palette instead of a plate. So I've got my color wheel, and the thing with the sunset is you can really use any 3 colors in a row as long as they're neighbors on the color wheel. So I could use red, orange, and yellow, or I could use orange, yellow, and green, yellow, green, blue, purple, blue, purple, red. Any of these, as long as they're 3 that are neighbors, would be great. So I always like doing purple, orange, and red. Purple, red, and orange, I should say. Got to go in the right order, because if I mix together purple and orange, here's the tricky thing, that will make kind of a brown, and we're trying to avoid brown in the sky because that's gross. So the magenta reddish color that we're mixing with is more of a pink. I can add some white to that if I wanted to make it a lighter pink in the sky. I could add some white to my purple or my orange to make it lighter. And as I said before, if you add some white in the sky in your paints, then it will make it cover your plate a little bit better too. So instead of maybe needing to do 2 coats, you only have to do 1 coat. So I'm gonna pop the lids off of these guys, making sure that before I clean up today, or when I'm cleaning up today, I make sure I put the lid back on there all the way snapped tight. So here's the tricky part. You gotta figure out, I only gave you red, white, blue, and yellow. So how am I gonna use these colors to make orange and purple? There's no orange or purple paint in here. Well, looking at my color wheel, it actually tells me the answer. So when I mix together, so these are the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, or magenta, yellow, and blue. Those are primary colors. If I mix together any 2 of these, I can get all the secondary colors. So what am I missing? I'm missing orange, I'm missing green, I'm missing purple. So looking at my color wheel, to make orange, I would mix together magenta and yellow. To get green, I would mix together yellow and blue. And to get purple, I would mix together magenta and blue. And you always want to mix a little bit more of the lighter color. So if I'm mixing purple, more magenta, just a tiny dab of blue. If I'm mixing orange, more yellow, just a tiny dab of red, because I can always add a little bit more of the red. But if you go too far with it, it is a little bit harder to add more of that lighter color to fix it. And if I want to make green, mostly yellow with a little bit of blue to start. I want to make sure I'm not using up all of my acrylic paints on this project, because we're counting on having those for your painted banner at the end too. So I'm going to start by mixing my orange. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow. I'm going to put it on my palette. And I'm going to take a little bit of white because I want it to cover. Put a little white here. And I'm also going to put a little white over here for when I'm using my pink, because then I can mix that into my pink color. I'm just going to use this little trick I like of balancing my popsicle stick on top of the cup. Just be careful you don't flip it off. I tell you these things because I have definitely done them myself. So a little more pink over here, because I'm going to use that. And I don't want to take too much, so I'm just going to put a little bit of pink to start. Now once I have used the popsicle stick to scoop, I want to make sure I don't mix it and then put it back in there, because that's going to make your paint messy. You always want to scoop pure color out of there and then mix it on your palette and use something clean to go back into it. I usually don't use my brush to go back in the cup either, just because sometimes I might have some paint in my brush and I don't want to mess up my original colors. So for orange, I've got mostly yellow, a little bit of red, a little bit of white. Let's see what we get. I'm going to try to get it all about the same. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Wipe a little bit of that pink off. And okay, This is a nice yellow orange that I've got, but I want it to be a little bit more of an orangey orange. So I'm going to scoop a little bit of this. Okay, oops, well, guess what? Now I have to get a new popsicle stick if I want to scoop more paint after this. So do you see how my orange is getting just a little bit darker and more like an orangey orange and not so much like a yellow orange? Let's look back at my color wheel to see. So it's getting a little bit closer. I think I like that orange pretty good. So now to make purple, I'm gonna have more of the magenta. I'm running out of places. Okay, so I'm gonna take some magenta, scoop it over, mostly magenta, a little bit of blue, because magenta is lighter than blue. I'm gonna take a little bit more magenta for when I use just the pink. So I'm doing orange, purple, and magenta, remember. So for the pink, I'm gonna mix a little bit of white into it so it will cover better. And I'm gonna scoop a little bit of blue. Now blue is a very powerful color. It's a lot darker. So you want to be careful about not mixing too much blue into it because it will be very, very dark very, very quickly. And I think you can see what I mean. That's a very pretty but really dark purple. Okay, do I have a popsicle stick that I haven't got in anything else? Aha, okay. This one I only put in white, so I can scoop a little tiny bit more white. Okay, I'm gonna wipe off the excess. I want to put just a little bit of white in my purple. Okay, beautiful. So now it'll cover, now it'll blend, all that good stuff. So when I start to paint, I want to be careful and make sure that I'm going to go in color wheel or rainbow order. So I'm going to look back at my color wheel and I'm going to make my plan before I start painting. So if I was going to go in color wheel order, I either need to go orange, then pink, then purple, or I need to go purple, then pink, then orange. Because like I said before, if I jump and I go purple, orange, I'm gonna get brown. I don't want any brown in my sky. So I'm gonna put a little orange. I think I'm gonna do orange at the bottom. And I made sure that I dried my brush when I was done washing it. That's how you make sure that it's not gonna make your paint too thin. These are paints that you do not have to mix any water into. If you do, they'll be thin and you might have to do 2 coats, which, to be honest, I am not a big fan of. I'm not gonna make perfectly even stripes here. I'm gonna make it go kind of like diagonal a little bit. You can make your sky colors whichever way you want to go. I like diagonals personally. I'm gonna make sure I get the edges. Okay, cool. And I'm noticing it's a little streaky there, but it should be okay. So now I'm going to, because I'm blending the orange and the pink, I'm going to use a little pink, and I'm not really going to worry too much about either washing out or wiping out my brush just yet. I could wipe it off on like a little rag, or I could wipe it off on like a paper towel. If I'm feeling lazy about washing, I could also just have a little cup of water next to me and rinse it that way if I want to just keep going. But you do want to be pretty careful because you don't want to mix water into your paint. You don't want to spill your water. I just usually prefer to go in and wash my brush out all the way. You can see how I'm kind of blending the pink down into the sky a little bit too. Getting all the way around those edges. Okay. I think I want the pink to go a little bit higher so it stays diagonal. Okay, now looking at my brush, I can see I've still got a little bit of orange in there, so I'm going to go wash out my brush with some soap, and then I can do the purple at the very top of my sky. All right, I'm ready for my last color now. So I'm going to do some purple up here at the top. And I want to make sure I don't get the purple all the way down to the orange, because you remember what happens then. I am not interested in any brown in this rainbow sky. I think either a blue sky or a sunset sky or sunrise sky, they're all really beautiful. Really, there's just no way you can mess this up as long as you're following color wheel rainbow order and only using colors next to each other that are neighbors on the color wheel. If you've got your color wheel next to you, you can always double check before you start putting the paint on. But I like to make a plan first, like you saw me do a minute ago, and then do the plan. You could even do a practice painting on a piece of paper if you wanted to. Okay, and this purple's looking kind of chunky, so I would like to mix a little more pink into it. So I don't need it to really blend like perfectly smooth. I just don't like that big line between the two. I want a little bit of red violet here where I can mix it on the surface a little bit. So I'm gonna mix together. This is the last time I have to use the pink, so it's okay if I get a little bit of purple in it. That's more like it. So see how that's just kind of breaking that line a little bit so it's not like a hard line. I just don't like hard lines in a sunset. I like it to kind of be streaky. Okay, a little more pink over here. I'm gonna take a step back and look at what I've got and see, what do I think I need more of? Well, okay, so let's say that I looked at my painting and I said, I really wish that I could bring the pink up a little bit more into this dark purple, but you know that purple is very powerful. If I wanted to do that, I could add a little bit more white to my paint, and that could help me to make the pink more powerful. But I'm noticing when I look at this, I miss the edges, so I'm going to go in and just touch up my edges a little bit. Pardon me. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm very happy with how pretty those colors look. So I'm going to let it dry and go wash my brush again.